Yo, 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 what is good, everybody? Nathan Lombardo here with Lambo Media.
What's up, everyone?
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on, everybody?
What's good, everybody?
Hey, everyone.
What's good, everybody?
What's up, Beach Bronies?
What's good? It's Ori Tubman here, Terrence Ferguson.
Four-star recruit Cole Martin.
This is Rockies pitcher Yancy Almonte.
And I'm Kyle Freeland, starting pitcher for the Colorado Rockies.
This is Xavier Scruggs, former MLB player, current MLB analyst, and content creator.
It's NBA and NFL analyst and insider Jordan Schultz.
Drew Jones, Vandy Boy committed.
So it's the King of Juco here.
DC Sabathia.
And this is Lambo Media.
Welcome to Lambo Media.
Welcome to Lambo Media.
And welcome
to Lambo Media.
Welcome to Lambo Media.
And across the screen from me, a sensational guest in itself, and back with another incredible video talking pitch grips with the 92nd overall draft pick in the 2021 MLB Draft, Brock Selvidge, an incredible player, like I just mentioned. But Brock, talk to me about your first season in pro baseball, the transition from, high school baseball to pro baseball, because I know that's a big transition and can be a tough one for many. So break that down for me a little bit and, some of the biggest differences you noticed right off the bat.
For sure. I mean, to put it in perspective, leaving high school, you're a senior, and, you're playing with a lot of younger kids as well as people your age. And I would say probably the most drastic change would be, playing with guys from that weren't even, from the country and guys that, are no longer, at their home country. And, playing with them, I think it's really cool because it's also, you get to see, a lot of different perspectives and different sides of, how people grew up playing the game and, playing the game that you want to play for the rest of your life. So for me, I think the pro ball, was definitely a lot different. You're given freedom to it, a certain extent where, they're there. The coaches are there to make you better and to, grow you as a player, not just physically, but also mentally. And I feel like that's the biggest part of it. So.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned seeing those kids. I know there's a lot of, kids from other countries, including Canada, the Dominican, Puerto Rico. Would you say, first going into pro ball, that was kind of a reality check for you on, how good people really are around the world?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of, competition growing up. And I would say the biggest change would say, when you get there, you play baseball for a job now. It's your, and it's something you take seriously. It's not something you slack around with. And how I look at it is, everybody in that locker room, you are playing, on a team with them and, your teammates or friends with them, but it's just as much as, they're your competition and, you're trying to beat everyone out. You're trying to be the best. And it's just, it's not that elephant in the room where you need to, you need to know what you need to do in order to, be successful. And you never need to, lose sight at the end goal and always have your eye on the prize. So.
Right. And one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you particular Brock on is because we're going to be breaking down pitch grips, and you were one of the most dominant players in all of high school baseball, around the country. And your fastball, low to mid 90s, you're climbing up there, even upper 90s as well. So I want to start it off with that pitch grip in particular, the four seam fastball. And you're also a left-handed pitcher, so I'm sure that helps as far as tail movement on a righty goes. But what does that four seam fastball pitch grip look like?
For me, actually, growing up, and I would say I never threw a four seam until I got to pro ball.
Okay.
For me, I was a two seam guy. It kind of felt, easiest in my hand. It was the easiest to throw. It was the grip ball field, as small as possible. And for me, I would say my two seam's pretty generic. It's just here, I keep my fingers close together with my thumb right underneath. I don't tuck it or anything. I just kind of have the base of my thumb hover right above that seam right there. But actually, when I got to pro ball, the coaches kind of developed a four seam, which plays very well with, a curveball. As you say, you throw your four seam up and, your curveball dives. And that's definitely, changed my game, a lot, because that's also a fastball that moves in a different direction than my other one. And also, when I go down there, I was throwing harder. And I do think it's because of, learning actually how to throw a four seam and how to put it in play. And for me, it's just kind of right here. I think of, keep enough space in between your fingers to kind of have a pencil fit.
Right.
And then it's here, which just having your thumb right above the seam.
And for a lot of guys I've talked to, and even when I used to play, it seemed as if a lot of guys learn their four seam first and then their two seam later on in their career. How did you get introduced to first throwing, a two seam as a young guy and then implementing a four seam later on?
For sure. I'm a guy that I throw more of a 3/4 arm slab than right over top. So My pitching guy, John Huizinga, over at Field Factory, he's super big into just kind of just be you, and don't force yourself to trying to be someone else. You just got to be you and be the best individual you can. So my two seam was just that's how I did it, and that's what I perfected throughout high school. And to be honest, I never really thought I was going to be introduced to a four seam, but as you get to the higher levels, you need to know what you need to do in order to get these guys out, because these guys are fighting for a spot on a roster. These guys are fighting for their careers and stuff. So you need to know what to do to get the job done.
Absolutely. And it's obviously worked tremendously throughout your career so far, and hopefully, only going to improve from here. And you mentioned Zinger. Huge shout out to him over at Field Factory Sports. First, before we transition from your fastball to off speed, because I know that's a huge thing in your arsenal, as far as velo tips and, advice for the younger guys go, what advice can you give to the younger guys that are working to improve their velo? Is it long toss? Is it just long toss and bands, or is there more to it?
For me, and this is gonna sound crazy because I didn't believe it growing up whatsoever, because it sounds like just the big fib in the room. But I personally, and this is truth, I throw harder when I don't try and throw as hard as I can. Okay. I kind of let the velo come, and as you get older, a lot of the older guys are going to say the exact same thing. When everything feels smooth and everything connects, you listen to DeGrom, you listen to Glass now. When everything connects and just that rubber band pulls and it's just everything flows correctly, that's when you're going to get the velo. It's not when you're muscling up a fastball and trying to throw it through the catcher's mask. Yes, I would say I do a lot of long toss, at least a few times a week, in between bullpens, in between games. I feel like when you're at long toss, it's a slow stretch out, and then as you move in, that's where you kind of get some crow hops and get some pull downs. But yeah, no, I would definitely say velo, velocity is not necessarily a thing you need to force down your throat, because that at the end of the day, if you're working, if you're, treating your arm right, doing arm care, doing well in the weight room, I think it's all going to come through.
I think that's huge, because if a lot of these younger guys try to force a lot of velo improvement too early on, that's when you're starting to see a lot of arm injuries, not only in the shoulder, but even possibly worse in the elbow. And then they're starting to see Tommy John at a very young age. But I love that from you, Brock. But to transition away from the fastball and the velo side of things, I want to transition it into the off speed type of things. The slider is a huge piece in your arsenal. What does that slider grip look like for you, Brock?
My slider is actually, I started throwing it a different way my sophomore year, and ever since then it's just kind of stuck. So right here, it's just kind of right above this little horseshoe line. Okay. A lot of guys curveball like this, but it would just up. But my thing is, I throw my fastball right here on a kind of gripping this seam right here. So if I can throw my slider, just kind of cut the ball in half and then grip this on the seam, and just kind of rip through it and throw it like a fastball. That's how you're going to get the velocity as well as the sweep.
So what was it before you made that transition? Because, you mentioned you made that transition sophomore year as far as your slider grip goes. What was it before, you started with that?
So before, this is how it is now. I actually just flipped the horseshoe around, okay. And instead of the horseshoe, I went to the horseshoe. And when you do that, I felt like it took a lot more room in my hand. And that's kind of what made it slower and more curveballish, slurvish, however you want to put it. But for me, it's like I said, when you get to the higher levels, you need to have stuff that isn't just generic. You need to have stuff that's very beat and how it's going to move. And so that the way to throw it harder is you get it on a seam and have it as, close to being identical as your fastball.
And how much room are you trying to have between this part of your hand and the ball? Because I noticed, obviously you're not going to be all tied up, or else it's going to, either dive down or tail up. How much room are you trying to have between, that part of your hand and the ball?
For sure. The big thing that I've learned through Zinger and what is, once again, helping with velocity just kind of as we move up is I think of holding the ball like an egg. That's kind of how I've always been taught, even, from a young age with my dad, just hold it like an egg. And, you should always, your, the effort level, it only comes when your front foot lands and you're at that 90 position with your arm. But for me, when I hold it like an egg, there's a lot of room in between. I have pretty big hands, but, even for somebody that doesn't, when you're holding your fastball, just grip it like an egg and, let it rip.
Okay, and transitioning from, your slider to the curveball, you mentioned all you have to do is move it down a little bit more, but to specify, what does that curveball grip look like?
For me, the Yankees do a very good job of teaching off speed and going, to pro ball. I didn't use much of a curveball in high school. I was just kind of the slider, fastball, changeup trio. But as I got to pro ball, I learned how to elevate that fastball, and what you need when you have a fastball is a curveball that's going to dive and have the same movement kind of on the plane. When you watch, you'll watch the pitching Instagrams where it's like they'll do a little tunnel. So for me, they teach a really good knuckle curveball. So I've always played with it. I've kind of moved my hand up, not necessarily a knuckle, but just kind of moved it up towards the horseshoe. But just as I've thrown it more, it feels a lot more comfortable to just kind of put it on the seam. So, and once again, I'm not gripping it hard. It's just kind of gripping it like an egg. And then when I throw my curveball, I think I throw on the back of my hand at the catcher. Because when you kind of get like this, that's going to get your little slider dot spin. But what you want from a curveball is to get the four seam spin that just dives like a cement mixer. So when you do that, obviously you can't physically go here, but at the last second, it's going to turn here. You're going to throw it like this rather than here. So,
and with a knuckle curve, you're obviously not having your index and middle finger completely on the ball. Was that a tough transition for you? Because, taking that index finger basically off the ball and only putting, the tip of your finger, was that a tough transition for you?
Yes. I mean, I definitely think, for all the young kids out there, the way to develop your off-speed pitches is to throw them in, flat ground and even throw them past 60 feet. That's the biggest thing for me. When I learned that, a good way of, perfecting your off-speed pitches is to throw it at 90 feet, even throw it with a crow hop or, a little shuffle. Yeah. And it's just to feel like as comfortable as possible. So I definitely, wouldn't recommend getting a grip and then just going out in the game and throwing it, first pitch, but I would definitely say practice makes perfect, and the more you can do, the better.
And to wrap up the off-speed pitches, what does your changeup look like, Brock?
Yes. So didn't throw my changeup too much in high school. I had it. It was just kind of a way of, slowing guys' bats up, and that's how you're going to give up in high school if you throw hard, is to, throw a changeup. But for me, my changeup actually changed, probably right before my first pro game. So probably like, maybe 2 months ago. I originally threw a two seam changeup. So it was just kind of on the two seams and just kind of had it like this. And these two fingers were completely off the ball. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. Just kind of feels comfortable. And then obviously when you throw your changeup, you focus on, pronation. But as and like I said, one of the best things, and especially working out at Push Performance, is that's how I learned at a younger age. It was just like, when you see pro guys and, you see them out, or, even in the weight room, like the best thing for you to do, like, I don't think there's a wrong answer or a wrong question. So like, you need to pick those guys' brains, and like, if they've been there and done it, they've been where you want to get, you see a professional baseball player, like that's what you want to get to. And I feel like you need to ask questions. You're not going to ever get the answer if you don't ask the question. So I actually was asking one of my buddies down there, because he had a really good changeup. He was a righty, but he had a very good changeup. And I was like, how do you throw that? And he kind of just kind of on the horseshoe. So instead of a two seam, this would be more like a four seam. And he actually, I've never done a circle change, but I actually just kind of tried it. And It's one of the, took a week of catch play and used it. And I was like, I think I'm ready to implement it in the game. And I tried it, and I got some good results.
And to wrap up talking pitch grips, Brock, 3-2 count, game on the line, without, of course, taking, the hitters, tendencies into account. What pitch do you feel most comfortable with as far as getting an out goes?
Oh, I'm throwing a two seam right down the middle, see if they can hit it.
Okay. Just blow right by them, huh?
Yeah, that's how it is.
I love it. And playoffs 2021, to transition away from that side of things, Brock, watching the playoffs, I'm sure you've seen a lot of it, and especially, the wild card game between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees, the incredible rivalry. Watching the 2021 playoffs, what excites you the most, for your future in the game of baseball? Is it having that, that fan atmosphere in New York and in the Yankee Stadium? Is it having that atmosphere in the future and, the possibility of that?
Yes, just like the feeling, and honestly, just the thought of playing, in New York in front of all those awesome fans. It's just kind of like a dream come true. Like, even playing my first professional game down in Florida, it was just kind of like, it's kind of realization moment of like this is like, what I've worked my whole life for. This is what I love to do. And, it's one of those things where, you always try and make your parents proud, and it's like you feel like you've accomplished it, but also, you always have to set your sights higher than you can believe. So, I'm ready to, hopefully get to New York soon and, show everybody what I'm capable of.
And speaking of the future and people already in New York, I'm sure you have, but what guys have you been able to connect with as far as pitchers go, for the Yankees, and what have you taken away from those conversations that you've had with them?
For sure. There's a lot of great pitching coaches down there. There's a bunch that you're going to click with just because they get it. And they've also, they've been there, they've been in the big leagues. They know what they know what, the grind is and what you need to do to, make your dreams come true. And, I would definitely say just like listening to everything. You got to listen to everything. You got to get different opinions, even if nobody's saying the same thing. You got to know what it is. You got to be willing to experiment. And, I feel like the best feeling is like, being uncomfortable, because if you're uncomfortable in a situation, that means you're not, familiar with it. And you need to be able to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. I'm sorry. And I feel like that's the biggest thing is you always just have to believe in yourself and just do it.
And I mentioned the 2021 MLB playoffs. Do you have any, World Series predictions as far as what it's going to look like, NL versus AL, or even World Series champions?
Yeah, I have a pretty biased opinion. But obviously we would have loved to see the Yankees win. But I have one of my boys, Logan Webb for the Giants. He's obviously having a phenomenal year, and hats off to him. And yeah, shout out to Logan Webb, because that's somebody I always pull for. That's somebody in the off season that's just given me every ounce of respect. He helped me, whether it's pitching, weight room, or just even like a mental approach. He's just overall like a great guy, and it's good to see someone at such a high level be able to be so personal with somebody. I mean, at the time I was in high school, it's like he had nothing to owe me, nothing from the friendship. He's just a very genuine guy, and we still keep in touch and talk whether when he's starting and stuff. But so I'm gonna root for him. I want him to get a ring. I want him to live it up. So
I'd love for the Giants to win it as well, because going into this 2021 season, that was not a team that everyone was predicting to come out on top. But I want to wrap up this incredible segment with you, Brock Selvidge, the 92nd overall draft pick in the 2021 MLB Draft, with a quick rapid fire, kicking it off with the go-to pregame snack.
Go-to pregame snack, Cheez-Its.
Okay, and favorite baseball experience while in high school?
While in high school, state championship sophomore year.
Okay, toughest hitter you faced in your career?
Austin Wells.
Stud. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
That's tough. I'm also biased. My dad's a really big Reds fan, so go with my dad and say yes.
I like it. For or against robotic umpires? This will be interesting because you're a pitcher.
Yes, we also have this down at the Low A Stadium. We do, the robotic strike sounds. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that one, because as a pitcher you want to be able to strut off the mound on strike three. Shoot. I'm going to go with against.
Okay, and pitch at one big league ballpark, what would it be?
Oh, Yankees, for sure.
I love it. And that's a team you're going to be playing for in the future, in the stadium you'll be pitching at. Brock, really appreciate it. And like I do every other interview segment, I wrap it up by asking you for an interview nomination, asking you to interview nominees, someone else to do an interview with me, Lambo Media. So Brock, if you could, who would that guy be?
I'm going to give the shout out to Kale Lansville.
Okay, I like it. Kale, Colorado boy.
Yeah, I grew up in Colorado too. So yeah, he's been my boy for a while. But yeah, he's over at LSU doing big things. So yeah, you got to get him on here.
I love it. And you mentioned LSU. Okay, we're going to make up a scenario before I wrap up this interview, Brock. I'm a freshman. I'm a sophomore in high school. I have, 10 full ride scholarships. My top 5 are ASU, LSU, UCLA, Vandy, and we'll say Ole Miss. Why should I pick an LSU full ride scholarship over a school like Vandy or a school like Ole Miss? Why would I pick LSU and become a Tiger?
Well, for me, it's a pretty simple answer. And I would say, LSU, like the atmosphere, I went down there for a Friday night game. The atmosphere, you won't get it anywhere else. And SEC, I believe, is, the best place to play if you want to, play against the best competition and with. And Coach Jay Johnson down there, I know this is going to be his first year, but he is a phenomenal coach. hats off to him again. I mean, he's he was over at U of A, and we had a really good relationship, throughout the process. And he was just always been a great guy, and obviously a great coach, taking, his team to Omaha, and, they're going to do. But, LSU is just a powerhouse, and there's nowhere else to be.
I love it, Brock. I love it. And I love, the career you've had and the direction you're headed so far. Brock, really appreciate you hopping on for this Lambo Media exclusive segment. We'll stay in touch, and best of luck in the future.
Yes, I appreciate it, man.